Aquarius and Aquarius rising. This is your March 2017 forecast. So the big news this month is that Venus is going retrograde, and that Venus, that planet of love, relationships, affection, and even money, goes retrograde every 18 months or so. So let's look at the general significations of Venus retrograde before we move into the specifics. So for everybody, Venus retrograde is about finishing up past business with relationships. So you may find that you're reconnecting with old friends, partners, or lovers. So people from the past may zoom in on you for a second look, or you may find you're motivated to do the same with those from your past. So Venus retrograde, also a good time for renegotiating the terms of financial settlements or loans. So renegotiating terms and conditions around financial agreements, very fruitful. And for those of you embroiled in legal problems, Venus retrograde and the time when Venus goes direct on the 3rd of March and the 15th of April when Venus is direct, these are good times to change lawyers. So Venus retrograde, we may be inclined to spend impulsively or lavishly because we're thinking a little bit more impractically. So just be aware of that and be discerning. But on the other hand, Venus retrograde is very good for second-hand bargains. So where you know the real value of something, but the seller doesn't necessarily. So let's look at what else is happening this month. We've got the Sun in your second house until the 20th of March. And the Sun in the second is very motivated by security, by money. It's not so much about taking big risks. You're more inclined to hold on to what you have. So your mind is on money and making more money, particularly with Mercury in the second house as well. So looking for ways to increase your income, ways to draw more money in. So you may find you're also a bit more inclined to be extravagant with your pocketbook, with the Sun and Mercury in the second house. So because it's really about accumulating possessions here and taking pride in what you have. So with Mercury in the second, you're also more concerned with business and commercial affairs. And this includes shopping, but also transactions and business negotiations. And you'll find you're putting a lot of planning and effort into these things. So really your attention is on what you value and drawing more of what you value materially, spiritually, intellectually into your life. But like I said, not a period where you're inclined to take big risks and gambles. You're more inclined to hold on to what you have and show off what you have, conversely. So from the 20th of March, the Sun moves into your third house, and Mercury will be moving into your third house from the 14th onward. And this really picks up the tempo, particularly with Mercury in its own house here. So the Sun and Mercury picking up the tempo, you'll find there's a lot more interactions with friends, neighbors, business associates, the people that you deal with daily. The goal at this time should really be clear communication. So it's not just about speaking, although you'll be initiating a lot of interactions. It's also about good listening skills. For some of you, there could be a lot of travel during this period, but Mercury very focused on business, trade, very articulate, so good for presenting yourself and your ideas. But you may find you have to do a series of short trips. And some of you may also commit to a new course of study. Mercury here, very motivated, for new skills, honing skills, acquiring skills. So study could be on the cards. It's also a good time for resolving issues with people where there's been confusion, because Mercury here, very articulate, very detached, very objective. So resolve troubling issues and conflicts. So a lot of mental agility and busyness. And lots of conversations with people, much more so than usual. So Venus retrograde, as I said, this month. And for you, it's going to be in the third house. So this is that house where, you're experiencing a lot of mental energy. It's focused and creative with Venus retrograde here. So it's really a good time for you to focus and work on creative projects and finish them. With regards to relationships, Venus in the third retrograde stimulates nostalgia, feelings of love. Perhaps you're romanticizing past partners. It's also a good time for healing relationships with siblings. So really, if there have been conflicts with siblings, this is the energy to heal them, to revisit those things, for love and compassion, generally speaking. You may also find that it's a very good time to express your feelings through phone calls, letters, texts, because this is, of course, that house of communication. And certainly with regards to family members and siblings, it's really the time to pour your heart out. So Mars will be in your fourth house in Aries still until the 10th of March. And Mars in the 4th can stir up a bit of domestic strife and conflict. Mars here wants to get a lot done around the home, so this can be energy that's being put into renovating, remodeling. But you can clash with, in terms of interest with those you share accommodations with family members. So you can find some inappropriate and strong expressions of emotions with family members at this time, perhaps even professionally speaking. So here, really, you want to channel the energy into getting a lot of work done around the house. So from the 10th of March, Mars moves into your 5th house, and this is the house of recreation, sports, romance, and creative projects, personal business projects. So Mars is putting the energy into all of these things. The only downside to Mars in the 5th is that one doesn't always have energy for things that you don't feel passionate about. So the discipline and focus isn't there. The discipline and focus is for things that you do feel passionate and inspired about. In terms of romance, Mars in the 5th is more about the physical side of love. So looking for immediate gratification. It's not so much about candlelit dinners. So Mars here looking to have a good time. And again, it's all about what you're feeling passionate and inspired by. And if you have a personal business, Mars here is going to be great for promoting it. And for some of you, this could be a time of speculative risks or gambles. So let's look at the aspects this month. On the 1st of March, we've got the Sun conjuncting Neptune in your 2nd house. Now, the Sun and Neptune together can stimulate an interest in occult or spiritual subjects. It heightens sensitivity, altruism, and connection to others, generally speaking. So it can foster a sense of closeness. It also can be a good day for meditation and contemplation, since the Sun and Neptune sometimes drains physical energy. And it can also show an overindulgence with drugs or substances, generally speaking, and fatigue on that account. So on the 2nd of March, we've got Jupiter opposing Uranus from your 9th to your 3rd houses. So these are the communication houses, also the houses of learning and travel. And here you can experience, this aspect is quite strong in 2017, and here the tension is between duties and obligations, and conversely a desire for freedom from those kinds of restrictions. So sometimes when this aspect goes exact, events conspire in such a way that there's a release of tension, a release from certain binding commitments. With regards to relationships, you may need to give other people more freedom, as they may see you as the source of restriction in their life. So on the 4th, Mercury conjuncts Neptune in your 2nd house, and although this aspect is very good for perceptive, imaginative, and creative thinking, it can show a bit of lack of confidence in communicating yourself or expressing your ideas at this time. But Mercury and Neptune never good for, financial commitments, sales, negotiations, and agreements, because Mercury and Neptune can show being misled. So you're not seeing the truth of the matter necessarily. So don't make any binding legal contracts or commitments at this time. On the 5th of March, Mars trines Saturn from your 3rd to your 11th house. Now this aspect, these planetary energies are very good for getting a lot done, hard work, diligence and focus. Work doesn't need to be glamorous and interesting for you to tackle it at this time, so save the creative work for later. Do the hard slog now, because this will be good for that discipline, focus and concentration, and able to get a lot done. So on the 6th of March, we've got the Sun conjunct Mercury in your 2nd house, and this is very good for having conversations, initiating into actions, for starting business ventures. And for you, this could be around starting business ventures where you need to commit some capital, commerce and exchange and interchange of ideas. It's very restless and motivated to take the initiative and start up communications, generally speaking. So Mercury and the Sun will move to sextile Pluto on the 8th from your 2nd to your 12th house. And this is very good for changes or reforms, that there's areas of your life that you need to make alterations to. So very good for getting rid of bad habits and things that have been dragging you down. These aspects are also very good for research and study and getting to the bottom of things. So you can really apply yourself to get to the bottom of anything that's troubling you, that's then holding you back. So very good aspects for getting to the truth, for getting to the bottom of things. So the full moon this month is on the 12th of March in Virgo in your 8th house. And this full moon is all about give and take. It's about balancing your needs with those of other people. You may have to settle debts, financial or otherwise, and you may also find you need to make a financial settlement or a large outlay of cash at this time. You may also be called upon to support somebody else, either financially or otherwise. So on the 18th of March, we've got Mercury conjuncting Venus, now retrograde in your third house. So Venus and Mercury together are always good for declarations of love. You're feeling more articulate, able to express your feelings with great sensitivity. And this is also very favorable for financial and business dealings, generally speaking. On the 23rd, Mercury squares Pluto from your 3rd to your 12th house. And this can show you being like a bit of a dog with a bone. You know, obsessive thinking, preoccupation, fixation. You know, you maybe find yourself unwilling to let an idea go. You may also be provoking arguments or be provoked into an argument. So, but for inner work and focus, this is good for getting, you know, greater awareness in terms of yourself. So if you refrain from kind of opposing other people at this time, this can be very good for inner work. So on the 25th, we've got the Sun conjuncting Venus in your third house. And this is very good for self-expression through creativity and relationships. In terms of relationship issues, which Venus retrograde always brings up, this can give you that kind of aha moment, clarity and insight into issues of intimacy and trust. So if you've been pondering an issue, this one could shed some light on that. This aspect can also draw in new or old lovers, so just watch out. On the 26th, we've got Mercury conjunct Uranus in your third house. And in the third house, this aspect can be quite exciting, show a lot of cleverness, inventiveness, originality. So if you're applying yourself to some problem, this is very good for resolving problems, particularly of the mathematical or technical nature. So it's very experimental with ideas. So the new moon is in Aries in your third house on the 28th, and this is a very jam-packed new moon. So we've got the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Uranus all in Aries. And for you, this is going to be in the communication sector. So this is all about learning methods, daily interactions. It's also the house of study, so, you know, this is a good time to hone your skills, professional skills for the next 2 weeks. So starting a course of study. The next 2 weeks, you can also use your energy to make phone calls, apply yourself to what needs to be done with a lot of diligence. There'll be a lot of energy to take the initiative and to set constructive goals in these avenues. So the month concludes with Jupiter squaring Pluto from your 9th to your 12th house. Now, this is a strong aspect in 2017 as well. And it can show for you, because the 9th house is being activated, it can be around dreams, study, travel. So where you're thinking big, your bigger goals and objectives, but also study and travel plans can come up. This can have you thinking very idealistically. And for many people, this shows up as a striving for power, you're looking for in areas where you can make a difference. It's also very good for reforming, rebuilding, restructuring areas of your life that need your attention. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this forecast, please like and subscribe, and thanks so much for listening.